Alive and alert on the north side of the dirt. It is your man D Real coming at you with another Be Real with D Real, where edutainment is what I do. The Last of Us, episode 6. Episode 6 is called Ken. And that's exactly what's in episode 6 called Ken. But before we start talking about episode 6, I need y'all to do what you always do for your mans in there. Comment, like, subscribe, and share the Be Real with D Real page so that when new material comes out, you get it. If you're digging what a brother's shoveling, put some dirt in my bucket. Comment, like, subscribe, and share the page. Episode 6. Okay. Episode 6 was a very emotional episode. I didn't think there was going to be any action in this episode, just a lot of talking, but then towards the end there was a wee bit of action. My favorite part of that episode is at the beginning when Joel and Ellie kind of commandeer the home of two Native American people, two Indigenous people. And my goodness, those Indigenous people, one of them is Graham Greene, and I don't know who the lady is, but she is funny as hell, and she reminds me of damn near every Indigenous person I've ever met since I've lived in Alaska, because I meet two types of Indigenous people in Alaska: very serious and not so serious. She was one of those not so serious people that always smile and laugh and crack jokes, and her husband was like really stern, and they were just, Joel and Ellie aren't killers, at least not anymore, or at least when it's not, not just killing for the sake of killing, but just, he's trying to get information because he's trying to get to where he needs to go out west. And they're telling him nobody has ever went past the river. And what's happened to anybody who ever went past the river? They died. Oh my. So guess there ain't no going west of the river. Nah, that didn't stop Joel and Ellie. Joel and Ellie kept pressing on until they got to where folks were supposed to die. And they were confronted by a group of people who seemed to look like raiders. And when they are confronted by these people, the people are trying to find out if they're infected. And they've got a dog, and that dog can sniff infection on folks. So that's what everybody's thinking. Oh boy, they getting ready to get shot. They getting ready to get into a fight. They getting ready to run because that dog gonna sniff that infection on Ellie and start barking or attack her or whatever. And so the dog sniffs Joel, and they're tight, with all of these guns drew down on them. And the dog starts licking Ellie. So I guess the dog smelled the cure instead of the infection. So that kind of worked in their favor. But then they're like, what the hell are you doing up here? And Joel tells them, I'm looking for my brother. And then a woman who is clearly black rolls up and says, what's your name? And he says, Joel. The next thing you know, they're riding back to the city. It looks like a fortress, you know. Soon as they get in there and he rides up a little bit, he sees his brother Tommy, and they are reunited. And then we find out this beautiful black woman's name is Maria, and that's Tommy's lady. And this lady is played by Rutina Westley, who we might remember if we ever watched True Blood as Tyra. She's a lot more stern, a lot more serious. than her character on True Blood, but she is one of the administrators of this city of Jackson, which has actual electricity, and it's a really nice place. And they're eating like there ain't no tomorrow. And there's a scene where they get some food and they're eating, and Ellie's eating, and she's eating so fast, she can barely breathe. She just and you hungry when you eating so fast you can barely breathe. You ain't even taking time to breathe. You just eating. So they come to feel comfortable in this society, but then they share what the mission is about Ellie. And Joel admits to having, I guess, what looks like an anxiety attack when they were leaving the native family's home. He kind of stopped, and it was like, he almost kind of had an anxiety attack. And, she's like, "Are you okay? Are you going to die?" And it's like, "You too extreme, child, calm down." But, in the city, he's letting his brother know, he's kind of confiding in him. I lost a step, I ain't as hardcore as I used to be. A guy got the drop on me and he almost killed me. And if that little girl hadn't been with me, I would have got killed. And so he's like, she's got the cure. She's the cure. She's possibly the future. I need you to take her to Colorado because I ain't got it in me. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to. I'm getting old, a little long on the tooth. Even though I was a killer back in the day, I'm not as good a killer as I used to be now. And Tommy's telling him, "Yo, Maria's pregnant. I do not have time to be gallivanting now and risking my life for your little humbug thing." And and eventually, they have that brotherly conversation, and there's back and forth, and he agrees to it. Okay. Meanwhile, Ellie is with Maria, and Maria's showing her around. Maria gets her a new coat. Maria gives her I guess that was like a diaphragm that she gave her. I don't know what. I'm not a woman. I'm gonna assume that was a diaphragm. It looked a lot like a little, with a reservoir tip and squeeze, and so it's like, all right. So that's what they think little girls want to do because Ellie's raised by Fedra. She, or in the, auspices of Fedra, she didn't have, the regular inklings and thought processes that teenage girls usually have. A lot of teenage girls, there, at least one looked at her weird and she's like, "What? What the fuck?" Because, of course, Ellie's a little firecracker. So she's not listening to nothing anybody says and is very suspicious of things that everybody does. Now, more emotion pops up when Ellie finds out that Joel plans to ditch her or have his brother take her to Colorado. And so they get into this argument, and it seems a little more intense than the arguments that Joel and Ellie usually have. And she snaps off on him and she says something to the effect of like, "Everyone I've ever cared about has either died or ran out on me, except for you." And now he's doing that. And Joel, to his credit, he stayed hard edged and was like, in the morning, we going our separate ways. That's the end of it. And just left her there. But in the morning, Tommy goes to get Ellie from her room. She's ready to go. They take off. But when they get to the stables, Joel is there with a horse, and Joel says to her, "I feel like I should have gave you a choice whether you want to go with Tommy or." And she's like, "Let's go," and just throws him the bag. And so they get on the horse and they ride out. Yay! Kind of emotional moment. I mean, there's an emotional moment between Tommy and Joel as they embrace each other, and Tommy tells him there's always a place for you here, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm counting on it." So they plan to come back to Jackson. But as they ride out and they get to Colorado, it looks like At some point, the University of Colorado was a research facility and trying to figure out what is going on with, the cure and all of that. And when they pull up at the university, there's monkeys running around, just monkeys running around loose. And in my mind, I'm like, are the monkeys infected? That's the only thing I can think about, because once a bunch of monkeys jump on you, and what you gonna be able to do to monkeys? They're like little men, So come to find out, we don't really get too much interaction from the monkeys, but we do find out that there are some raiders on site. And so the action starts. Okay. Joel's attacked, and Joel is all about being like, I got to F this dude up. And they get into a scuffle, headbutts him, and basically ends up snapping his neck. But not before this guy takes the end of a bat and jugs it in his gut. Before the other guys get there, Ellie and Joel are on horseback and they rolling out of there. And Ellie kind of backs him up by, shooting some guns at the guys, shooting her gun. She ain't shooting at nobody. She's just trying to keep them off of them. And they escape. But at one point when they're riding, Joel ends up succumbing to his wound, and falls from his horse. It leaves Ellie begging him to wake up. And that's how that episode ends. So if we want to know what happens to Joel and Ellie, gotta tune in and see episode 7. Are y'all watching The Last of Us? Have y'all played The Last of Us video games? You need to do one of them. I'm just saying, you will be pleasantly surprised. If you're not a video game player, watch this series. But that's it for now, y'all. I will be coming at y'all with another one of them other ones. And until I do, y'all be good. Be good to each other.